That's a wrap?
I couldn't find what you were looking for.
But you found something, didn't you?
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 directors who were fired before they'd finished the movie. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're taking a look at directors who were let go from movies they'd signed on to make.
I am a fallen priest.
Number 10. Alex Cox, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Get in.
The narrative in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is all over the place, which is fitting given the drugged-out nature of the movie's protagonists. And the filmmaking process was every bit as chaotic as the finished product. Alex Cox, who rose to prominence with cult classics like Repo Man and Sid and Nancy, was tapped to write and direct this adaptation of Hunter S. Thompson's novel.
Order some golf shoes. Otherwise, we'll never get out of this place alive.
When Cox and producer Leila Nabulsi became divided over creative differences, however, production company Rhino Films hired Terry Gilliam to take over his directorial duties. Gilliam and Tony Grisoni additionally rewrote Cox and Todd Davies' script, although the original writers were still given credit following a legal dispute.
We can't stop here. This is bad country.
Number 9. Richard Stanley, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
I have seen the devil in my microscope, and I have chained him.
Poor Richard Stanley had been an admirer of H.G. Wells' classic novel since childhood, and spent 4 years trying to get this adaptation off the ground. Then, when he was finally given the green light, Stanley found himself in a perfect storm of problems. When actor Bruce Willis suddenly dropped out, Stanley was forced to replace him with Val Kilmer, who made his availability limited. Stanley thought he could work around this by expanding Marlon Brando's role, but that idea blew up when Brando went AWOL following his daughter's suicide. The difficult cast, harsh weather, and a skyrocketing budget amounted to Stanley's unceremonious termination, leaving replacement director John Frankenheimer to helm this inevitable bomb.
I want to go to dog heaven.
Number 8. Paul Schrader, Exorcist: The Beginning.
Sometimes I think the best view of God is from hell.
Speaking of John Frankenheimer, the late filmmaker was originally set to direct this Exorcist prequel, although Paul Schrader eventually took over. The producers didn't care for Schrader's psychological approach, however, desiring more shocking violence. Thus, director Rennie Harlan and writer Alexi Howley were hired to rework the whole movie.
God is not here today, priest.
Exorcist: The Beginning was such a massive financial and critical bomb, though. The studio decided to release Schrader's completed film the following year. While Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, received better reviews, it was still viewed by many as a pale imitation of the 1973 classic. Honestly, the behind-the-scenes story of Schrader's firing is a lot more interesting than either of the films we got.
This is the spot where Lucifer fell.
Number 7. Richard Thorpe, The Wizard of Oz. It's a miracle that The Wizard of Oz ended up being a perennial classic, as it went through 5 directors. While Norman Taurog was technically the first director brought on board, he only shot a couple of Technicolor tests. It was Richard Thorpe who got production rolling, filming Dorothy meeting the Scarecrow and a few scenes at the Wicked Witch's castle over 2 weeks. Producer Mervyn LeRoy felt Thorpe's filmmaking methods were too hasty, however. George Cukor was briefly enlisted to replace Thorpe, while Victor Fleming became the primary director. Even Fleming didn't see the film to the end, since he left to rescue another troubled production, and King Vidor put the finishing touches on Oz.
But what happens if I just follow the yellow brick road?
Number 6. Bryan Singer, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Our lead singer just quit. Then you'll need someone new.
This Queen biopic had its fair share of problems even before Bryan Singer signed on.
It goes on forever, 6 bloody minutes.
I pity your wife if you think 6 minutes is forever.
Clashing over creative differences, star Sacha Baron Cohen exited the film. Dexter Fletcher also eventually left production due to disagreements with co-producer Graham King. The project finally got back on track with Rami Malek playing Freddie Mercury and Singer directing. In late 2017, though, it was reported that Singer had become, quote, unexpectedly unavailable. Whether this was due to a personal health matter or Malek's frustration with Singer's behavior has been heavily debated. In any case, Singer was fired, and Fletcher returned to finish the final weeks of principal photography. Although, Singer still received the sole directing credit per DGA rules.
So now what?
This is when the operatic section comes in.
Number 5. Anthony Mann, Spartacus.
All men lose when they die.
Given his surreal, unconventional style, Stanley Kubrick might have seemed like an odd choice to direct an American epic like Spartacus. It's not surprising then that Kubrick was not the first choice to direct Kirk Douglas's passion project. Anthony Mann initially landed the directing gig, but Douglas fired him after only a week of filming, arguing that Mann could not helm such a large-scale picture.
However, this campaign is not alone to kill Spartacus. It is to kill the legend of Spartacus.
The job subsequently went to Kubrick, who had previously directed Douglas in Paths of Glory. While Kubrick reportedly wasn't the happiest camper throughout production, the final film was a universal success.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
Mann, meanwhile, would go on to direct other historical epics like El Cid and The Fall of the Roman Empire.
Are you afraid to die, Spartacus?
No more than I was to be born.
Number 4. George Cukor, Gone with the Wind.
Sir, you are no gentleman.
And you, miss, are no lady.
Remember when we said Victor Fleming left The Wizard of Oz to take over another struggling film? Well, that film just so happened to be Gone with the Wind, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture.
If I had to lie, steal, cheat, or kill, as God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again.
What's especially ironic is that the film's original director was George Cukor, who made several creative choices on The Wizard of Oz before leaving to direct Gone with the Wind. Although Cukor had spent 2 years developing the Civil War epic, he was let go after only 3 weeks of filming due to squabbles with actor Clark Gable and producer David O. Selznick. Nevertheless, Cukor continued to secretly coach actresses Vivien Leigh and Olivia de Havilland.
I remember nothing.
Number 3. Richard Donner, Superman 2.
I believe this is your floor.
Since he did such a great job with the first Superman, you may be wondering why Richard Donner was fired from the sequel. Basically, the studio gave Donner a seemingly impossible task. He was asked to simultaneously make 2 Superman movies that would both come out the same year. Although the first film was completed in time for its 1978 release, Donner was let go from Superman 2 because of delays, a high budget, and other factors. Although Donner had already filmed 75% of Superman 2, replacement director Richard Lester reshot a fair deal in order to receive credit. At least Donner's vision would finally see the light of day with the 2006 re-edited director's cut. Number 2. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, Solo, a Star Wars story.
I waited a long time for a shot like this.
On the heels of the Lego movie, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller seemed like ambitious choices to direct this Han Solo origin story. Well, apparently they were too ambitious for Lucasfilm, who felt the directing duo over-relied on comedy and improvisation. Of course, actress Emilia Clarke also suggested that the two didn't give the most detailed directions and lacked the necessary experience. As interesting as their version might have been, Lord and Miller were fired in June 2017, and the studio turned to Ron Howard, who ironically had declined the chance to direct The Phantom Menace. Colin Trevorrow followed in Lord and Miller's footsteps when he was let go from Star Wars Episode 9 months later. Before we get to our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
No whistles! No whistles! Everybody, please get out of the water. Everybody out of the water, please.
Number 1. James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Why are you doing this? Why?
For the longest time, the idea of doing a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie without James Gunn seemed unthinkable. Several months before Volume 3 was set to commence shooting, though, it was announced that Disney had fired Gunn over a series of offensive tweets he posted between 2008 and 2012. Although Gunn apologized for his ill-conceived jokes regarding rape and child abuse, Disney severed their ties with the director nonetheless. The Guardians cast strongly disapproved of Gunn's firing, especially Dave Bautista, who threatened to quit if Marvel didn't at least use Gunn's Volume 3 script. Gunn has additionally received support from various fans, journalists, and artists who wish to see him reinstated. Still, Disney has refused to budge.
I have to do everything! You are wasting a lot of time here!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.